Welcome back to Beast Wars Wednesday. I'm your host, Predacon Paul. This is your other host, Decepticon Doug, and today we're doing a very special episode called Bat Spark. Now, in this episode, there's a giant...
Is everything okay? Did you have more caffeine?
Second win.
Woo! Today we are talking about Bad Spark. It is about a bad spark. Bad.
And he's on timeout right now in a gigantic stasis pod.
Mm-hmm. So this episode begins with Cheetor zooming around this sort of Badlands area. There's a lot of critters roaming around.
So Air Cheetor catches a glimpse of a Mondo stasis pod with a Mondo X on the front of this Mondo stasis pod that is large.
Mondo means large in this context.
Especially when you're hip like Cheetor. And Optimus Primal is like, yo dog, get ready. Optimus knows a little bit more about what's going on here.
Him and Rhinox are in the know. Somehow Megatron has been keeping an eye out on the situation as well, and he sends in Black Arachnia and Waspinator to check things out. I think that he suspects Black Arachnia has more on his data tracks than she's letting on, because he puts on this little
tracker disc thing that
cloaks
and listens in on conversations and whatnot.
And I think he's trying to sort of figure out what she knows.
I like how he brings them in close, like, hey buddies, here you go.
I love you.
I'm gonna tell you a little story. There's a giant stasis pod and I want it. Go. And then the camera moves down below Megatron's chair, and what do we see? One of those spider things. Transmitting to Tarantulas.
He's a sort of weird, jealous, stocky ex-boyfriend for Black Arachnia.
Yeah, he goes from shifts from being everything we could desire and her leg and to this weird manipulative place that it landed in, and then actual full-on physical manipulation and mental manipulation, to now that their relationship is over, he's stalking her. The second he finds out that she's leaving the protection of Megatron, he is already out the door. He doesn't give a rat's ass about the stasis pod. He wants her. Probably for her data tracks and stuff.
Yeah. But still, you can definitely tell there's something very personal there.
Mm-hmm. Get over it, bruh.
Tarantulas, just write lousy poetry like I used to.
In your webs.
Optimus and Silverbolt show up at the stasis pod, and Optimus takes a look at it, and it looks like the protoform is dead. He explains to Cheetor and Silverbolt what's going on. He's like, okay, so turns out the Axalon wasn't just on his exploratory mission. We had this other Maximal that we made. We wanted to make it immortal, like Starscream.
It was really smart.
Yeah.
And it was big. He was very tall.
And had a problem with killing people.
But he did it so well.
He was really good at it, though.
Yeah, he aced that part of the exam. What's interesting, I didn't even make this connection until one of our more engaged subscribers mentioned that Protoform X was a Starscream 2.0 type thing.
Yeah, and he was saying that maybe that's why those files on Starscream were classified by the Maximal Elders, not for anything that Starscream had done, but to hide the fact that they made a huge mistake in bringing Protoform X to life. But it looks like maybe he wasn't immortal after all, because, this Protoform is dead. They poked him and everything.
Yeah.
The Predacons show up. Waspinator drops off Black Arachnia. They start shooting. Right away, Waspinator gets knocked down and his head gets buried in the ground because, he made his appearance. Black Arachnia, on the other hand, fares a little bit better and manages to bury Optimus under a rock and shoots at Silverbolt, misses, and hits Cheetor, who flies into some Energon and starts a bit of a chain reaction. Meanwhile, Tarantulas finally shows up, puts Black Arachnia in a headlock, gives her a noogie, and starts to try and get some information because he thinks that she's got more information than she's letting on.
And she says, I got news for you. I don't like Megatron very much. He smells funny. Mm-hmm. He never closes his mouth when he chews.
That's true.
He picks his nose and he eats it.
When he thinks no one's watching.
He never wipes off his shoes before stepping into the base.
Oh, man. That is rude.
He never refills the ice cube tray after using the last ice cube. And Megatron hears all of this.
Yeah, he's like, I can't believe she said all these things. Why didn't she talk to me first? Silverbolt thinks that this is really rude of Tarantulas. And so he picks up Tarantulas by his throat and just starts punching him in the face and gives him a stern talking to the whole time, saying, It's really rude for you to be picking on women like that. But meanwhile, this whole Energon thing is getting a little out of control and starts up an Energon storm.
Which is a tornado.
Yeah. an Energon Stormnado. Silverbolt and Black Arachnia crash, and they're about to, like, duke it out. He's like, are you damaged? She's like, just enough to make me interesting. It's weird, like, robo-flirting. So Tarantulas also gets up, so that was annoying. But, hey, I'm okay now. And then he's like, let's see what's going on with the stasis pod. It is empty.
Dun dun dun!
That's not going to sneak up on me and definitely, like, ruin my day. He turns around, and this gigantic creature is behind him, and Tarantula screams. Black Arachnia and Silverbolt are walking together. Silverbolt can't fly, by the way, because his wings are busted. Then they come across Tarantulas' arm dangling in a tree. So Cheetor and Optimus are looking around. They're like, oh, Silverbolt.
But he's not picking up his phone.
Oh, Silverbolt. He must have it on silent right now.
Or his battery probably died.
Yeah.
The Energon surge probably like surged the power out of the battery.
Yeah.
It's a common problem on like prehistoric Earth. That's why their cell phones back then were so bulky.
So they decide to go back to the Maximal base. They need to get fixed up, and then they can come back and try and find Silverbolt.
They're no good to anybody in the shape that they're in. So Silverbolt and Black Arachnia come across a precariously perched log over a ravine. What's at the bottom of that ravine? Probably spiders, but it's okay. Because Silverbolt knows just what to do. He's going to climb up on that log. He's going to test it first.
Don't worry, I'll test it for you, my lady.
It's actually a pretty good impression. What does she do, Doug?
She pulls out her gun.
She points it at his back.
Only a big fat rat would shoot a guy in the back.
And then he's like, look out, because...
There's a saber-toothed tiger.
Yeah, and she's like, saber-toothed tigers, I don't think they exist. And then it leaps out and tries to attack her. And he jumps in and turns into beast mode and fights the tiger one-on-one. And then they roll around and you know, things get a little heated and passionate. They roll and they fall off a cliff. And now Black Arachnia saves Silverbolt. But unfortunately, that happened to be the last saber-toothed tiger, so...
Now they're extinct.
Yeah, so at the end of that. And she pulls him up, she's like, thank you for saving me from that endangered creature. Why did you save me? Because there could be more tigers. There aren't. Megatron and some of the other Predacons are watching and they're like, I don't know if this is about her protection anymore.
In fact, I think there might be something there that wasn't there before.
She glanced this way, I thought I saw. And when we touched, she didn't shudder at my paw. No, it can't be, I'll just ignore. But then she's never looked at me that way before.
Optimus and Cheetor get out of the CR chamber.
Dinobot, always the opportunist, is like, hold on a second. Megatron is down 2 people. Now's the time to attack.
I think what it is now that Megatron has the golden disc, he's feeling like, we've really got to take Megatron down. And then Optimus is like, next time you're caught in an Energon storm, how about I go attack Megatron and leave you behind? He leaves to go save Silverbolt, and Dinobot's like, well, guess it's up to me. And he takes a little thing, plugs it into the computer, seems to be uploading something, but it doesn't say what he is uploading.
Borg nanoprobes.
Probably.
Silverbolt and Black Arachnia walking. It's a romantic stroll for 2. Silverbolt he's reflecting upon her saving his gears, his gizmos, tail feathers. And she's like, dude, I just need you to make sure I get out of here.
He's like, your protoform was a maximum protoform. And, you know, like, she's got to know that at this point. But, you know, she's like, look, just don't go there right now.
And then he's like insisting, he's poking the bear. She turns around. And he, with like lightning reflexes, is already behind a boulder.
Must saw it coming.
She proved her point.
Around the corner, they stumble upon the rest of Tarantulas. This wasn't an Energon storm. He's in stasis lock. It looks like he was ripped apart. Then Silverbolt is like, don't worry, Black Arachnia. I will give you all the exposition that was given to me earlier this episode. But Megatron is also listening. He's like, oh, so it has an immortal spark. Interesting. And it's big. I like big. I like immortal.
Those are 2 very good things. So he fashions a blade with the help of the computer, obviously.
Yes, he doesn't just like conjure it up.
Yeah, he's not like...
I'm not a wizard.
Yeah, but the computer's a wizard.
And then she's like, okay, that's it. I'm out of here. We need to get out of here as fast as possible. And then right behind them comes this gigantic form, transforms from a crab into a robot. It is Protoform X. And he's like... And then she's like... Commercial break, and then they come back, and he's like... Stomping around like a big monster. You know, they're trying to fight him. It's not working so great, so...
He grabs Silverbolt with his big claw thing and starts crushing him.
It turns out he's not just a big grumbly wumbly monster. He is a very articulate monster. And he's like, are you feeling fear? I like that fear. I want you to feel it more. And more and more and more. And it makes me feel so good. That's paraphrasing, of course.
Yeah. And then Silverbolt gives him what he wants.
Silverbolt!
Just as then, Optimus and Cheetor show up. Protoform X tosses Silverbolt aside, and Cheetor and Optimus are joined by Black Arachnia, who's going full guns, blasting into Protoform X.
They form a perfect firing line, and they just hit him with everything they've got. It's this great scene, and Protoform X is taking it like a friggin' champ.
But he falls off a cliff, and so they're like, ha, that wasn't so tough. And then he turns into a tank, starts rolling up the hill, and he's like, I rise again.
And then Silverbolt pulls out a stick grenade.
Then perhaps we should give you farther to fall. Throws it right into his gears, clogs everything up, and he starts falling backwards again, crashing, and all his pieces fly away. He transforms to robot mode, shoots a missile before falling down even deeper into the abyss, and it hits Black Arachnia. She goes flying. Silverbolt runs to try and save her.
Jumps off a cliff as she's plummeting to her untimely demise.
He's trying to get his wings to work, and just by sheer willpower gets them to work, and he can fly.
Catches her.
And he pulls her back up. She's like, great, bye, thank you for saving me. Wink, wink. And then runs off.
Silverbolt,
Silverbolt.
the horn dog that he is,
Oh!
wants to go after her, and then Optimus is like, no, we've got more pressing things to attend to.
Like getting out of here.
Like leaving Protoform X in the middle of the valley.
And then Megatron shows up, Protoform X. He's like, Megatron pulls out the knife. Next scene, X rises.
From a CR tank.
Megatron gives him a bath. Also cut out half his spark. And put it into this little, like, Energon squishy thing. So that he has control over Protoform X. Also, renamed him Rampage. So welcome to the Predacons. The end.
The end. I'm going to start with what worked for me.
Please. I want you to.
One of the... Did you want to go?
I said, I want you to.
One of my favorite bits of this episode is the relationship between Silverbolt and Black Arachnia. Whereas all that business between Space Ninja and Bird Lady, it all seemed kind of forced.
Or at the very least, it didn't really amount to much.
Yeah, this is like a slow burn type of path that they're taking with Silverbolt and Black Arachnia. Like they're earning this relationship. They're not just falling for each other. But I really like the dynamics between the two of them. It's just fantastic. He's hopelessly in love with her.
It's a really nice interplay because her relationship that's brewing with Silverbolt makes a lot of sense. First of all, he comes to her aid from Tarantulas, who she didn't really have a relationship with him, but there was like something going on between them. Almost like symbolically, like Tarantulas now represents that bitter, like toxic relationship that she was in, and Silverbolt is the complete opposite of Tarantulas. He's manipulative, he's treacherous, and you can't trust anything he says, where Silverbolt is extremely loyal, honest, and generally trustworthy.
Quite honorable, too.
They're like such polar opposites. So when she sees Silverbolt pick up Tarantulas and punch him in the face to defend her, that's got to leave a pretty good impact.
What I like about the relationship too is she's not just a damsel in distress. They really highlight that in the moment where she's all like, yeah, I needed him to save me, because she would have pulled out her grappling hook and fired it off.
Also in this episode, I feel like we start to really get a better sense of Silverbolt. We get to know him pretty much right away. But in this one, we get to see more interesting sides of him. I find him a lot more endearing in this episode than I have, like Maximal No More. We just found him obnoxious.
Yeah.
But here, I found him actually quite endearing. Him as that counterpoint to Black Arachne's like darker side. I felt makes a good dynamic for his character. So she's good for him, and he's good for her.
And the fact that they're both attracted to each other makes that chemistry shine even more.
Very unlikely couple, but
yeah.
but at the same time, something about it works. Protoform X. What do you think?
Oh man, absolutely fantastic.
I think Rampage is a great design. I like the concept of the character, and also an interesting backstory that sort of retcons a few things about the Axalon's mission. I personally thought that because they had all the stasis pods, I think that they were like a colonization vessel. They're going to find a new world and colonize it with some new fresh Maximals. Mm-hmm. But also turns out that only Optimus and Rhinox knew it. That they had a secret mission to dispose of like a bit of dirty laundry from the Maximal past, which is really interesting. And it shows like complexity in the backstory. Like, the Maximals are generally good guys, but not everything they've done is good. And even Optimus himself, who was obviously part of this
conspiracy,
to bury that mistake, to basically take this thing that you created and just like toss it off somewhere
and just leave it.
And like it's dark.
It shows that even Optimus, the optimist, he feels that Protoform X is irredeemable. And he really isn't. If left to his own devices, he would maim and murder and kill everything. Like, the way they shot this episode, the way they made it, the formulas that they used, like the tropes, it looks like they really borrowed from, like, horror films from, like, the 80s.
I'd say so, too.
Like
kind of a slasher, or...
The one scene that sticks out for me is when everyone's just unloading on him and he falls off a cliff and he's just motionless. Then he gets right back up. That's very Mike Myers. That's very Jason Voorhees. You hit him with everything you got, and then they go down, and then they just get back up again. And it's like, oh crap, what's it going to take to stop this thing? And he's big enough and strong enough that he's a legitimate threat to everyone. Not even Optimus's dual cannons did anything to him.
It's basically like the laws of physics, the fact that he's suffering impacts, that he gets blown off a cliff. And, the voice acting... We don't get a lot of lines from Rampage, but we get a few. It's not a monstrous voice, but it's deep and it's like dark and menacing. It's very restrained, even though like for the most part, like most of his lines are when he speaks, it's very different.
When I listen to him speak, I think of him like a full-on psychopath in a movie has someone tied to a chair, and they're completely helpless, and he's got like all these wonderful tools he's going to use to torture you in a way that can remove certain organs or fillet you to a point, but not kill you. It'll keep you alive, so that we could prolong the torture. Like, he's terrifying. His portrayal just makes me think of that kind of like a psycho killer, where he's got you. You're like a kitten. You've got no way of getting out. Your claws can't do shit to him, and he's just petting you, stroking your head, and going, "Oh, I can smell your fear." Even when I was a kid, I found his performance to be oddly terrifying.
Very unsettling. Should we transition into something that didn't work? Because, one of the things is what was Optimus thinking?
What were you thinking?
Leaving Protoform X there, and they're like, okay, I guess Rhinox and I are going to chat about what to do with this guy. I'm like, well, you could start by, taking him with you, chaining him down, and just do anything other than just leave him.
Irresponsible.
It really was.
Really poor leadership choice.
And it went to a significant tactical disadvantage because he made a bad call. Megatron capitalized on it. I guess he was just hoping Megatron would know about it, but Megatron's troops were there. It was only a matter of time before Megatron knew.
What's interesting about this, too, is that this was such a closely guarded secret in the Maximal camp. The Maximals as a whole, not just the Maximals in the Beast Wars. But this was such a closely guarded secret that not even Megatron knew about it. He's like, a giant stasis pod. Okay, check. Can't kill it. Very interesting. And then he just bided his time, waited for Optimus to make a mistake, and jumped in there. But isn't that interesting? Megatron is usually 2 steps ahead of everyone. What else didn't work for you?
Just a little thing. Cheetor's fart. I just didn't need a Cheetor fart.
I think it was supposed to highlight the fact that while their transmetal bodies are resistant to energon as opposed to their old ones, which would just put you in stasis lock after a set amount of time, the transmetal bodies then turn the energy into something a little less harmful and expels that energy through valves.
Out of their butts?
Flatulence.
Yeah, but it's dumb.
Look, I'm working here. I'm trying.
It didn't really make a laugh for me anyway. It doesn't fit in the episode because it's a mature story. I mean, maybe it was because the episode is so mature that they felt like, oh, we got to put in a little bit of humor, or the network won't let this one through.
Look, there's a fart joke. See,
like,
fart joke. We love fart jokes.
It just was a moment I could do without. But beyond that, I don't have a lot of other complaints. If you think about like all that it covers a lot. It gives extra backstory. It builds on a relationship. Introduces a new character, and I think that actually is pretty good accomplishment for how fast it seems the episode went.
After discussing it at length, we've come to the decision that this episode deserves
4.5 out of 5 tailpipe energon discharges. Puff.
The A plot being Black Arachnia and Silverbolt. Watching that relationship flourish was pretty close to perfect. Everything about the B plot, the whole Rampage and Optimus in that camp, really, really worked, and they worked together.
This is some essential Beast Warsing.
Beast Warsing.
Yeah.
2 Beast Wars. Like, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your mom.
Welcome back to Beast Wars Wednesdays. I'm your host. I don't have a name. I got nothing. Peace.